Competition!
Hey YouTube, Dogpatrician84 here, and I thought I'd do this discussion, just in case anyone was interested. So, as you know, I have past format decks ranging from goat format to hat format. I don't have anything from before or after either of those. So you may be wondering why I don't play any past format decks from Yata Lock and before, or July 2014, start of Pendulum era, onwards. Well, here's the thing, with Yata Lock, well, it speaks for itself. Yata Lock is just one of the most infuriating decks ever. It was just one of the worst formats ever, and back in the day, that deck made my life a misery. It was just not fun having everything sent by Chaos Emperor Dragon, then having Sangan or Witch search for Yata, then normal Yata, and then keep hitting me for 200, and then I can't draw a new card. Yeah, it was just not nice, and I would rather not relive that, especially since I didn't have any great decks back then. Then again, I wasn't on the competitive scene back then, but I knew a few people who did play it and used that deck, and it was just not enjoyable at all. What's worse is that I didn't even have any ways to counter it. So, yeah, even though I could build something that can run cards that specifically counter the Yata Lock, I would still rather not play any duels from that format, because I do not want to live through Yata Lock all over again. Maybe I will consider anything from before that one, so basically any format that happened before the Chaos Monsters came into the game. Problem is, I'm not very familiar with anything from before Yata Lock, especially since I hadn't been playing the game that long back then. It was only a few months. I hadn't even heard of a ban list until the autumn of 2004. But I do remember jumping for joy over Chaos Emperor Dragon, Yatagarasu, and Imperial Order getting banned, and very gutted that Graceful Charity and Mirror Force got banned at the time. But anyway, yeah, that's pretty much why I don't play anything from Yata Lock and before. As for July 2014, all the way up to the last ban list we got, well, that's a different story. As I feel like ever since the start of July 14 format, the game just hasn't been as fun as it used to be. Don't get me wrong, I still enjoy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! It's still my favourite game ever, and yeah, I'm still happily playing it for what it is, but it's just not as fun as it used to be. Like I said before, just synchros just changed the game way too much. But pendulums and links changed and ruined the game for me. I know Pendulum players will strongly disagree with me on that, but it's true though. Both summoning mechanics are just so damn broken and OP, and they're mechanics that no one asked for, like especially not Link's. I'll talk more about that in a moment. The other thing I didn't like, starting from the July 2014 format, was when the first turn rules changed, where basically whoever goes first can't draw. And even though it's been nearly 9 years, and even though I've gotten used to that rule since then, I still hate it and wish it wasn't a thing. Because I still feel like, well, even more so back then, but I feel like whoever goes first is at an unfair disadvantage in terms of card numbers that you start with. Of course, if your deck has lots of draw power, search power, and the ability to special summon anything from deck, depending on the deck, then it doesn't matter. But even so, like, I just think it's a stupid rule, and I would love it if Konami changed the rules back so that whoever goes first can draw again. Of course, people like that rule for some reason, and even try and defend it by saying, oh, but Magic the Gathering have had this rule for years. Well, screw Magic. Seriously, this is Yu-Gi-Oh!, not Magic the Gathering. It's like stop trying to change one card game into another. I mean, just because one game has that rule doesn't mean another one should. Whereas the field spell rule change was something I had mixed feelings about. I mean, on one hand, it was great that both players can control a field spell, but at the same time, it just sucks in the Gravekeeper matchup, because now, well, since then, you can't use your own field spell to get rid of Necro Valley. It's just annoying, really. But not as annoying as Pendulums and Links changing the game. But yeah, they were just so busted, and still are today. Like, Master Rule 3 just wasn't great. Just a load of these pendulum monsters just being spammed out from the hand and top of the extra deck just like that, and generic monster removal just being utterly useless against them. Like, is it any wonder that Regeki came back? I wasn't sure how I felt about that at first, but then I grew to like Regeki coming back. But then, of course, when it comes to pendulums, like, again, it does nothing against them. It's like if you destroy them all, they just come right back, just like that. And it just feels like playing against Dark World all over again when Grapha keeps coming back, and Agents when they keep bringing out Christia. even Master Rule 4 didn't really nerf them that much, and yeah, we still have a couple of OP pendulum decks, Endymion and Pendulum Magician. Like, the change in Master Rule just didn't phase them, or at least it didn't phase Pendulum Magician, because obviously the Endymion pendulums came nearly 2 years after, but that's not the point. Links were also a big mistake, and so was Master Rule 4. I mean, I'm not saying I hate all pendulums and all link monsters, but yeah, what I'm saying is, like, they were just both a mistake. It's funny, links were brought in to, like, slow down the game, but they didn't slow down shit. Like, we still got a load of OTK and lockdown decks, and even a whole bunch of FTKs in during the second half of 2018. It also felt like a Master Rule and summoning mechanic that was force-fed to us. Master Rule 4 just fucked over Fusion, Synchro and Xyz's heavy decks, and they couldn't play properly, or couldn't play at full power. You know, Elemental Heroes, Synchrons, Utopia, things like that. It was just a frustrating struggle, which brings me back to being force-fed links. It meant that if we wanted to have multiple fusions, synchro and Xyz monsters, we need to throw in links that have multiple arrows pointing down just to make that possible. Yeah, it was just unnecessary and so frustrating. Yeah, I for one just welcomed Master Rule 5. And yeah, I for one would rather not have a Master Rule 4 duel again. Like, screw that. Or Master Rule 3, actually. That's why when it comes to past format games, everyone usually prefers Master Rule 1 or 2. Like, I'm no exception, of course. But yeah, that's pretty much why I don't have any past format decks from July 14 all the way up to current format, or rather the upcoming ban list, because we are due a ban list like any week now. And yeah, this brings me back to earlier things I said. I think a lot of fans of past format games will agree that the game was a lot more enjoyable before pendulums came into the game, whereas for me personally, I found the game more enjoyable before synchros came along. And I'm saying that as an old school duelist. I mean, like I said before, original series and GX era were just so much better in so many ways. Like, besides priority, like, it was just so much easier and a lot more fun, and it would have been even better if priority just didn't exist, which is why I usually and this is, and yeah, like I said before, it's generally why I'd prefer to have pass format games from after Yata Lock and before Synchro era. Although I don't necessarily mind having some 5Ds and Zexal era themed games, because I do have decks from 2010, 11, 12 and 13, and 14, or rather hat format. Yeah, it is unusual that I have hat format decks but don't enjoy hat format itself. But to be honest though, my April 14 Dark Magician deck was just great back then. It was the first time in a while that I played like Dark Magician the old way, and it actually worked, and I could play the Eye of Timaeus, which gave me an excuse to run Dark Paladin again, and also run Amulet Dragon alongside it. Plus, I actually enjoyed the Dark Magic Strike deck that I briefly played back then as well. I mean, my April 06 version of Dark Magic Strike was more enjoyable, but I also liked playing that deck under the April 14 list. Anyway, I'm getting a bit off topic, but yeah, that's generally it. Oh, the other thing is, there were just too many unenjoyable decks throughout Pendulum and Link era. Don't know how anyone can enjoy Cosmo format and True King Dino format. Like, they sucked. Like, again, they were two really frustrating formats, including the July 15 one, because the list we got back then was one of the worst lists ever, because besides Necros, nothing got hit when it should have been, and this led me to quitting tournaments for the first time ever, even though I ended up coming back. True King Dino format wasn't much fun either. So like I said before, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, Lost World and Glyphosagem just ruined dinosaurs for me. Now dinosaur decks of any kind are just bullshit and unfair. Yeah, and that's another thing, like, throughout that whole period of time, we just kept getting more and more decks that do things that just don't let me play the game. Like, there's just, and now of course there's just too many, hence why I don't want to play in current format tournaments anymore. But yeah, that's pretty much the whole discussion. But what are your guys' preferences regarding pass format games? What pass formats do you prefer, and what pass formats do you not like and not want to live through again? Let me know in the comments. Anyway, thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll catch you guys later. See ya. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Dark Magician YouTube channel.